welcome back to the Better Men, Better Ball Player podcast. I'm your host, Trey Cobb. I want to thank you for joining us here in our 64th episode. And today we are joined by the newly current 2021 3A Georgia State champion, Coach Trevor Flo from North Hall High School in Georgia. Coach Hall, just a tremendous guy. I've just been fortunate enough to meet this year and keep in contact with. Follows a great follow on Twitter if you not already following him at Trevor Flo. And currently, he's been with the head coach at North Hall since 2018. Right now, he's got an overall record of 116-33. In 2018, they had a record of 24-7, made it the Sweet 16. Year 2, finished 21-16, made it to the Final Four. Last year, of course, they have COVID, and then this year takes them all the way and really guys into some unbelievable stories about the great team that they had. Don't even want to get into that. Don't even want to spoil that. But there are some great news about just the type of team that this guy put together and his staff. Before being the head coach at North Hall, he was the assistant coach under legendary Coach Trent Mongero, who I've had on the show before. If you haven't seen that episode, please check that out. Just Coach Mongero is just again, he had just recently retired. Now, the Hall of Fame career, unbelievable coach. So Coach Hall got to learn from him because he is a constant learner. You'll hear about that throughout the show, and just the little time I've got to spend with him this year, like he's a constant learner. You can tell there's no ego, and continues to want to learn. Wants to be the dumbest guy in the room. Wants to just learn how to get his pad out and take notes and see how everybody does those things. So he's just a constant learner, no ego. Wants to do this for the right reasons. Just a dude. But yeah, before he took over as head coach, he was the assistant coach at North Hall, and in 2013, they also won the 3A state championship as well as an assistant coach with Coach Mongero. And I just had a great career, and he's just getting started. So, but today we get through, our conversation just flowed. We went through right away and hit the ground running from how things were within the postseason and the differences between that. I don't think a lot of things are talked about with the differences between playoffs and postseason, playoffs and regular season play. We all want to compete. We want to win win the days and all that's the same. But there definitely is certain things that you're just going to do differently. And you have to get guys prepared to get in these big lights when it comes to the playoff time. So he dives into some of those things and gets a little behind the scenes with what he does at North Hall and how he's really trying to grow better men. And it was just phenomenal stuff. And we hit the ground running, so I just want to get the ground running with you guys, and hope you guys enjoy it because I know I did, and you helped me get better today. So, Coach Flo, I appreciate you, man. And so here he is. Enjoy the conversation. I certainly did. So, Coach Trevor Flo, North Hall High School.
Just been to relax and take a deep breath and not wake up in the middle of the night thinking about scouting reports or how am I going to pitch this guy or, what's my pitching rotation look like if this happens or where do I go? Just things like that are a lot more magnified in a big game situation in the playoffs. So, it was an awesome accomplishment. I love it more so from the kids in the community. If anything, I've had to back off texting them being like, let's go back to work.
Yeah.
Just kind of, it's easier to fight like crazy and get to the top. It's a lot harder to stay there. So, that's what I want. And it's hard for a high school kid to understand that. And I want them to understand that. But there's a balance where, you want to look back and reflect and say, they did a really good job and see their accomplishments and go from there. So
yeah, to definitely appreciate it, value. Like those things are special, man. Like that's the thing. Like it's special. Like no matter what it is, like it's just Crazy special run. I'm sure you got the breaks, and like things could have went the other way. Like that's just baseball, but it went our way. Like
I'm telling you, man, we ran the gauntlet. We faced 2, 3, 4, 5 in the state in our playoffs. So and we ended up drawing the number. Well, what was the number one team in the state pretty much the whole playoffs. I mean, the whole season, and then they hit a stretch right at the end of the season. They dropped to third in their conference, which was a very, very deep region. And then we ended up drawing them in the Sweet 16. Well, everybody pretty much predicted that to be the 1-2 matchup.
Right.
So that series, I tell you what worried me about that series is I felt like we had to extend so much energy and there was such a high that I was worried, could we multiply that in the next round? Could we see that through? So it was fun. It was fun. That series was awesome. You're playing big time high school baseball early on. We went to 3 games and we were fortunate enough to pull that one out. So it was fun. The ride was fun.
Yeah, man. And honestly, like the more I got into like this, and I was just, honestly, super excited. I can't thank you enough, man, for like, because like I want to get better and learn today, man. So like,
right.
I honestly got into this. I'm like, I'd love to hear your perspective now, like on how are you managing like that big time series versus like the regular season? Like, was it different? Like, how was your preparation maybe different? Or even like your in-game stuff? Like, hey, we got to do this differently. You know what I mean? Like, just like to see what you thought there. Let's see, I don't know, man. Like I was just, like I said, I was super excited for that. And just that's going to really help me get better. Like how did you make that? Like, was it different? Was it different managing the game? Your preparation different for the postseason, those postseason series versus like a regular season game?
Yeah, I think when I sit back and look, and I like to look at successful programs and see, what their runs look like. And, Chan Brown's one of my good friends at Parkview and, several other coaches. And when I hear the thing I see about them is that it always seems to come together towards the end. So how does that happen? Really? And I look back and say, how does that happen? And I think I've learned a lot as far as you can't coach the regular season like it's do or die every single game.
Okay.
So, it's hard for me. I'm extremely competitive.
For real.
For me. And it's been hard for me. It's probably the biggest lesson I've learned as a coach, that you can't live and die on every out or every play that happens. So I've recently, I print out a card stock that I always keep with me. I keep with me whenever I'm on the field, the dugout, I always keep with me. And any learning point or anything that I see that can be a learning point offensively, defensively, I'll take a note during the game. I write it down and I write it down and then I have a special column that's extended season. So basically these things are what could help us or break us in the playoffs. And I'll put those to the side. And I'll make a list of these are playoff atmosphere plays that we have to fix at some point. And that's kind of like a running practice log for me.
Wow.
So I'll keep those. And my goal is that, I expect some of those mistakes early in the season. So I have those written down. And then my goal is that we shouldn't be making those same mistakes as we enter into the playoffs. So I want to cross those off the list, and I keep all those cards, and make notes on them. What was really cool is in the 1-0 win we had in the state championship game, third game we won 1-0, and I started a kid, my game 3 starter, who had only thrown 6 innings in the playoffs total, and I started him. and I had utmost confidence in this kid. And what's cool about him, and I told the story on the radio, but I received an anonymous letter when he was in 8th grade, and somebody wrote and said, that kid is the worst kid you've ever kept. He'll never play varsity baseball. And, he goes out and he throws 6 1/3 inning in game 3 of the state championship, and he absolutely shoves, and we win 1-0. And what was cool about that, my point being, is when I looked at that card at the end of the game, there's nothing written on it. So I actually gave that to the kid's mom, and I said, you need to go home and frame this because this is pretty cool.
Yeah, it is.
Won game 3 of the state championship, 1-0. So go home and frame this. And now that was kind of cool just looking back, because I know how much I'd written on those cards early in the season. And you ask the kids to get better, but I think it's a great reminder for us. If I'm going to ask a kid to get better, I need to be specific on what we're working towards. So that was for me visually, just as a reminder, saying, we have to fix this. We have to fix this, because if I don't fix it and I don't ask them or show them how to fix it, then that's on me. I can't go to a kid and be like, well, what are you doing? Well, did you tell me, coach? Because that comes back to me as a coach, and as a coaching staff. So that was something I've changed. It's been really helpful for me.
Just being able to put that extended column. So, do you
be able to look back?
Right. So throughout the regular season, you have a special column saying this is going to hurt us in playoffs if we do not fix this.
Right. Yeah. And things like, and what's huge is 2-strike hitting, 2-out hitting. And I go back to that a lot. Because, competing, I mean, we faced a D1 guy, we faced a Clemson guy, we faced a South Florida guy, we faced, we're facing kids that are, the kid that beat us in the state championship finished 14-0. I mean, the kid we beat in game 1 was 10-1 with a .6 ERA. So when you do those kind of things, the little things matter.
Oh, yeah.
Hitting, moving runners over, being able to execute. Those little things that I would write on that card throughout the year in that column is gonna play if you want to play a long time in May. And we talk about that all year. When we first start our bullpens, I have the pitchers write May on their bullpen ball, because we want to play in May. That's when the most, and they keep those with them. So just little things like that. They're more of a reminder to me that if I have to do my part for those kids, if we want to be successful.
Like that, write May on their bullpen ball. That means everybody's got their bullpen ball. You're gonna write May on it. That's freaking legit, man. It's like something like that. People could take that. That's a great nugget, man. So when you get into managing the game, did you see any kind of differences between the way you had to manage, the game itself when it came to the postseason play and your 3-game series?
Yeah. I think you have to look for any advantage that you might have. And meaning, we do a lot of small ball, and we look for holes, and we practice that a lot. So, I want to know what the third baseman does. I want to know what his actions are like. I want to know what his starting point's like. I want to know as far as, does he start on his heels? Where's he at? And then I want to know arms. I want to know catcher's arm. Do they get lazy? Are they to their feet with a guy on third? Is there anything we can exploit? Where are they playing in the middle infield? Are they moving around? Are they stationary? Because a lot of teams, a left-hander comes up, we're automatically going to shade that way. So are those things happening? Are they robotic? What's the coach's signs look like? Is there patterns? I mean, anything I can possibly get, I want to know. because it could come down very well to a play, positioning wise. Our shortstop, perfect example. There's a guy on second, 6th inning, 2 outs, state championship game 3. They got a batter up that we know by scouting reports hits a lot of ground balls to the left side of the infield. Okay, so we shade our shortstop just a little bit, and he ends up he lays out on a ground ball, keeps the run from scoring. We get out of the inning. I mean, those things are huge. I want to know those things. So,
right.
It's a game of inches at that level, and I think you have to play it like that when you get there. And that's going back to what you said. I think it's a little different than the regular season.
Yeah.
The regular season, you're trying to dial in some things, and infield wise, the weather itself is a huge component because it's cold early in the high school season.
I didn't think about that.
Kids are trying to get used to the weather, and on arms, you're trying to manage arms in the colder weather. So there's a lot of things that I guess the regular fan would not see that has to go into managing how you would play the game.
Mm-hmm. I also even feel like, and I got this from like a legend in our area, but how the playoff games are faster, like especially at the high school level. Like they're just faster,
Right.
more strikes, guys are swinging a lot of stuff. Like you have to slow the game down. Like guys get sped up pretty quick. I thought that was pretty valuable information, just with like taking pitches, trying to see a pitch, your first at bat, just to kind of get yourself under control, feel it, just because the game can move fast. I'm not sure how that, if that played a part, if you guys saw that or not, because this was your first time, right? This is your first state championship at North Hall, right?
No, it's our second. It's the third one we've been to. It's our second in the last 4 years.
Second last 4 years. That's right.
Yeah. No, but you're absolutely right. I preach on this a lot. My kids probably think I've lost my head, but that number in the E column is huge for me on wins or losses. Because like you said, when you get to big time baseball, that number in the E column is not going to be big. There's not going to be a lot of errors being made. It's going to be clean, crisp baseball.
Right.
Little things matter. And I told my kids it's kind of like walking a high wire. In the regular season, the wire's lower to the ground, and you can make a couple mistakes, and you're not really going to get hurt. It's not gonna kill you. But when you get into game 3 of a state championship series against a very, very good baseball team, that was something like 36-4. Then those little mistakes, you're walking a high wire with no rope, no net. If you mess up and fall, you might not recover from that. So that's another way I think that regular season is different than deep playoff runs.
Absolutely. No, that's cool, man. I love that. Like it's like a high wire. Yeah, that's awesome. You got no rope, nothing.
No,
that's great. No net.
And that number in that E column is huge.
Yeah, speaking of that, man, because I know you're extremely, you got such, the passion, man. We talk because like we're very similar, man. I remember our conversation with infield play, so I know you're like
right.
really passionate about defense. So what? When you talk about that, are there something that you also kind of have team goals within yourself, like of trying to get yourself where your guys will play that crisp baseball, like the defensively? I'm just thinking of like, what do you value defensively to get your team to play real solid defense?
Yeah, we our goal as a team is 950 fielding percentage.
So you just keep it at that. So like you just can't your just goal. You just kind of keep like this is what we want to be.
Right, as a team overall, but we have our little things that we do within our position groups. Our saying that we use in the outfield is no gaps. And I think that doesn't come into play in games. I think that, we started a week before school started this year in August on our defensive work, 401s, and infielder, the feet of infielders. We really concentrate on, fielding with your feet. If you don't have good feet, you can't play the infield.
Amen.
So how do we get those feet to work? And I think that if you want to be ready to play in games, then your preparation needs to be like you're playing in a game. So I can't get on the field and hit you a fungo at 50% and you filled 50% of game feet. And then when you get in the game, we've done that because I think your expectations as a coach, they turn into actions. So that's not the kid's fault. That's my fault. So the expectations from me as a coach, I have to prepare that kid to play in the game. You just said it a second ago. The game speeds up in the playoffs. The game speeds up in huge games. So how do we keep the game from not speeding up for that kid? How can we make it so he's done that so many times at such a high level and such a high speed that he's just doing it? And that's our goal when we start. It really is. And my expectation is 200 ground balls a day for my infielders. And we do that a variety of ways. And that's not 200 throws, because if we are making throws, we're going to make throws full speed.
Okay.
It does us no good to get on the field and go through the motions on a throw. I would say, what is it, like 60% of errors in high school are on throws.
Right.
So anytime we're throwing game speed. And if you can't give me game speed, I don't want you throwing. I want your feet doing what they're supposed to do, and you're going through everything. And anytime, it doesn't matter if it's BP, it doesn't matter if we're in 4-on-1s, whatever workouts we're doing. You're giving me game feet preparation, or you're going to get out. You can't be there anymore. Either we're going to go, because like I said, my expectations lead to your actions. So you're going to do it game speed, because that's what I expect. I expect you to be able to do it right in the game. So you're going to do it game speed, or we're going to find somebody that will. And I think I don't know, maybe Butch says it, positions are rented. And that's really what it is. If they have to be rented. And I made a post not long ago on my Twitter account. I think it was something like, you got to watch out for those teams that aren't scared to fight for positions.
Yeah, hell yeah.
You got to watch out for those guys that go every day and they're saying, you know what, this is my position. And they're okay fighting with each other on the field to win a position. Because you give me that kind of competition and practice and that kind of speed, and we can do something with that.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, everybody gets better because of that. That's right, healthy competition. So within that competition, is that something that you guys like to create?
Oh, absolutely. I'll go on the field with them, and we'll set up the Fungo Man, and we'll challenge each other. We'll challenge each other, and then we'll have a competition. Then I let them get kind of creative with it. I have an infield group that's really good. They put in the time for the last 4 years, and we'll do every ESPN play we can possibly try.
Nice.
My shortstop and third base, and they have really good hands, and they'll field it and then flip it between their legs and then throw on the run. And I'm like, man. Like, I can barely run at 2 steps to my left or right anymore. But, those kind of things that challenge them to do things a little out of their comfort zone, I think that's good for them as well. And they responded to that. And, I think you're only as good as your group of kids, probably. So I can't say that I have to brag on them, because I have a great group of kids that's not scared to work.
Yeah.
We go weight room, long toss, 4-on-1s, all of our aerobics, jump ropes, all of our stuff that we do. And it ends up probably being 4 or 5 days for most of those kids a week, and they put in the work. So hopefully they'll look back and be like, I'm a lot better now that I did that, and I'll push the younger kids. At least that's my goal.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of that, younger kids, man, I'm thinking about that. Like, were you guys roll into like how much of a youth and maybe like stuff do you do like middle school? Is middle school baseball pretty big with North Hall?
We have a middle school team, and they practice and play on our field. So I get to see those kids in seventh and eighth graders.
Yeah.
See those kids in seventh and eighth grade. Next year we're going to try something a little different where one day a week I have all those middle school kids, sixth, seventh, and eighth. I get to know them a little bit, and they get to learn our concepts and our expectations. And they'll be on the field with the varsity coaches, and we'll get to know them early on and kind of try to start developing a little earlier because we have to develop our kids. I don't have one kid committed to college on our state championship team.
Really?
Yeah. So they probably will be next year, but as of right now, there's not one kid that's a college signee on our team. So that says a lot about them.
Absolutely.
And like I said, there'll be several next year that have earned it. But right now, we have to develop. Those kids have to be developed. And they have to work, and if they're only as good as what their preparation and their willingness to work is.
Oh, absolutely. So, like, will you do that in the fall? Like you're saying that one day a week, would that be the fall in your fall?
Right. So I'll open up the weight room for them to come in and start, getting some baseball specific stuff that we're doing and see how we do it. And, not every kid likes it. Not every kid likes it. So it's an opportunity for them to see what goes into the process if you want to compete at a state championship level.
Mm-hmm.
And we have like a little junior Trojan program that we've started, and it reaches all the way down to 9-year-olds. And I got that from Chan as well. So kind of my goal is from the time that they're 9 and on, those kids that participate in there are wearing our logo.
Mm-hmm.
They come to our camps. They know our program. They get to compete at a little higher level than rec ball. If they don't choose to be in that program, that's fine. But the ones that do, I think the more you play together as a team growing up, and the more you know the people around you, the more willing you are to play for those people, to play for your friends and your teammates. So that's the goal.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, building a true program, a full encompassing program, which is awesome. Oh man. So I mean, for me, even part of that was like Sheets, so the emotional intelligence stuff that he's about, about being vulnerable. Like when you get that chance and those people that well enough, those people start to, be vulnerable and talk, and you can kind of trust those people and get better for sure.
Right. And I think one big thing is when you get to that level of vulnerability, you don't back down from confrontation. So
that's good.
I think so many times when coaches don't know the players well enough, you don't go to a confrontation level. So you never know your kids well enough to really challenge them and find out about them. And I think that's a piece that I've had to learn and really look into is the relationship to a different level, and just knowing the kids on a different level. And that comes a lot with spending more time with them. I think that the more time I spend in the weight room and see their personalities, and the more time I get to talk to them on the field, and the more time I see them in our long toss programs and our bullpen sessions, the more I get to know their tendencies and who they are, and what drives them, what fuels them. And you can't talk to every kid the same. You can't. I have a right fielder who is an unbelievable kid. He has a great personality, but he'll flip out on himself sometimes. I mean, he'll just flip out, and he'll show body language, And if I'm just coming into coaching, like early on in my career, if he shows me that body language, I'm gonna lose my mind on him.
Yeah.
Because I'm not about body language. I don't like it. We talk about it a lot. But now at this point, that kid, his body language is not giving up on himself. And it's not saying, I quit or he's not, that's not why he's doing it. His body language is more, I'm so frustrated because I want to compete and do so well for this team. And the only reason I know that is because I've got to know that kid. I got to know him on a deeper personal level where I can go confront that kid and be like, look, man, I know what it's about. I know you want to succeed. I know you want this team to succeed. And I know that's why you're doing it. But here's what other people see when that happens. So how can we get to a point where we squash that and we figure out how to do it another way? And I think that's a huge piece for me, learning different than I would as a young coach. As a young coach, I would have just been like, go sit the bench, watching your body language, so.
Run,
Yeah, right. Go
run.
get the line.
Yeah. Burpees. So, and it sounds too like you're also about asking questions because you just said, here's what I'm noticing. Here's what we're doing. Right. How can we do this better? So it seems like you're asking more questions too.
Oh, yeah. You have to open yourself up to being vulnerable. I mean, your kids need to know that you don't have it all figured out. And I don't think you can fake kids out. So I think you allowing yourself to be vulnerable with them and I'm not scared to admit I made a mistake to my kids. I'm not scared to say that. I'm not just scared to say, you know what, that's my bad. I left the picture in too long. You were laboring and I didn't see it when I should have. And that's not on you. That's my bad. I got to do a better job. And I'm not scared to do that. I'm not scared to take that and wear it. And I'll let them know. I'll let them know after the game, that's my fault. I didn't, maybe I should have sent a runner and I didn't send a runner. Or maybe I reacted some way that I shouldn't have reacted and didn't realize what was going on. That's my fault. I'm not perfect. And I think when kids can see that you're vulnerable, they're more willing to share how they're vulnerable. And you get to know each other. And that's a deeper connection that I just think that allows for adjustments way more than you not breaking through the wall and trying to figure a kid out why they're doing something or treating it like a cookie cutter. David Webb told me, it can't be a one size fits all. And I love that because you can't, you can't, especially with what kids go through this day.
Yeah.
Kids all the time. There's no way I could be a teenager. Zero. I wouldn't make it nowadays. I couldn't do what you guys do. So they need to know you understand. I think that's a huge piece of it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, for sure. I mean, like you said, they'll play more for you, but then they're also going to open up more for you, and you can work through a lot of the stuff.
Right.
Oh yeah, man. So when you going through your career, when had that changed? Like you said through a younger me would have just been all over the guy. When did that change, man?
I think there's a huge difference in you knowing the game as a player and you coaching the game as a coach. I think so many people play this game and you know it from a player standpoint. Okay, you know what you would do on the field as a player.
Mm-hmm.
That is totally different than you relaying to 24 other guys what your expectations are, and then you piecing it together. So I think that has a lot to do with it. I think when I first got into coaching, I was real young, and I was looking at it from, this is what I would have done as a player.
Mm-hmm.
This is, and trying to do that one size fits all aspect, and not realizing about how the game fits together as you're going. And that goes back to what you said about game management. I think that there is no substitute for experience and just being able to manage a game. There really isn't. And my mentor, Trent Mongero, that's probably the thing I learned from him the most. I was a head coach, and then he called me and was like, I knew I wanted to do things different, and he called me and was like, "Are you interested in being an assistant coach?" I'd known him and worked camps for him for 2 years, and I was like, "Absolutely, man. I need to be under somebody and just soak it all in."
Yeah.
On how to look at this game from a different perspective, and just seeing what went into the little things of practice and managing a game, and how to a big thing for me is, how do I take these 21 outs and how do I extend them on my side, and how do I shorten them on the other side? Can I make the game 19 outs for them? And can I give myself, 23 outs?
Mm-hmm.
Can I extend an inning for me and limit it for them? So how do I do that? And I think that I learned a lot about just looking at the game as a whole, and then being able to break it down and kind of see how to manage it for all those 9 guys on the field and those guys in the dugout. I think all too often coaches don't trust their players that are prepared. You've asked those 23 guys I had 24 this year, 23, 24 guys on varsity. You've asked them to prepare for 8 months. So when a game comes and you're in the game, you're telling them you don't trust them if there's a situation where they should go. It doesn't happen. I see coaches ride their starting pitcher and just ride them. You've got 4 other guys that have thrown competitive bullpens all year, and they're never getting a chance. And I understand you want your number 1 to throw, your number 2 to throw. Those starting guys are big for you, but there has to come a point where you say, you know what, I trust you. You've put in the preparation. Let's go. And those type of things were huge for me, being able to piece the management aspect of the game together.
Trust in their preparation.
Right. Being able to trust, well, really, it's your preparation.
Right. Because like you said, your expectations are their action.
Yeah, absolutely. It's your preparation. So you're basically saying, I don't trust you to go in the game, which means you didn't trust yourself for what you gave that kid. So it really comes back on you.
Well, if you were a type of leader that you are, that's for daggone sure.
Well, I hope so. I'm learning. I'm learning, man.
Right. We all are definitely learning, but we all know those leaders that it's not their fault. We all know those guys because they're not vulnerable. They're not,
right.
They're not talking to their team the way that you are and showing that I'm not perfect or I made these mistakes. They won't do that. That's about their ego. And so
yeah, for sure.
So we definitely know those guys. And, but man, that's great. You said, I love that about not trusting the player's preparation, but like at the same time, like you said, it kind of came full circle of like, it's really not trusting my preparation of this player.
Right.
Because I prepared that player for this moment and maybe my relievers aren't ready to go, Wow,
right. And that played out for me in I guess what the Sweet 16 game.
Yeah.
That played out for me huge. I have a lefty that is also a first baseman, and he threw huge innings for us in that game, and he had only thrown maybe 10 innings all year. But every time he got in the bullpen, he's throwing his 2-seam well. He's pounding the strike zone. And so, we gave him the baseball. He's prepared for it. He's got a bulldog mentality. It was his time. It was that swing moment that he belonged in, and he performed. So you got to give the kid a chance.
Yeah, and I think that was one thing. Going through a little bit of my experience. We won the first state championship in school history in 2014, and one of the big things I remember through that year was like just coming through. Even before that is like guys need. So a lot of times the preparation, you can do competitive bullpens all you want, but there is nothing There is nothing that's going to give him that experience. Like you said, there's nothing that substitutes experience. Experience is game experience, like getting in the game, whether that's an out, a pitch, an inning. They need to get in the game. So you having that lefty and finding, hey, this is a good spot for him. So yeah, we got to get him in right now to give him this experience. Like where we had a guy too that people were, we're going to rush this kid, other kid back. Like, no, like this, we've been preparing this kid all year long. He's got to take this start to give our kid, like, he can maybe get our guy can maybe go 2 innings. He can't go 6.
Right.
So our guy gave us, we were hoping 4, he gave us 5.
Right.
And but he had prepared for that, And so I think, do you find like with that lefty during the season that you found places that you needed to get him into a game?
Yeah. I had this written in my notebook. Butch said, would you rather win a game 10-2 or 10-6? And that resonated with me in so many ways, because in that 10-2 baseball game in your season, your regular season, there is an opportunity for you to find out something about a kid right then. So, if I can win 10-6 instead of 10-2, but I had 2 or 3 innings where I found something out about somebody and got them that game experience you're talking about, then we're better off for it when we get down the road. So that is huge. And I think about that all the time. Where can I get meaningful innings in a game, in a competitive atmosphere for this kid that will pay off when we get to that really, really meaningful game that he has to go in? And he had those innings. The lefty I'm talking about had those innings.
Yeah.
He had thrown spot innings all year, but he had competed his tail off. So when it came that time, it wasn't a surprise for me. It wasn't like, let's flip a coin and just hope it happens. I knew he was going to compete and give us a chance, and he did.
Your preparation again, and then you trusted your preparation,
right,
young man, and because the way you also prepared him, so you did trust it. I think, man, that's wild. That's a pretty powerful statement, man. Like I never thought of it like that, too. Honestly, like we're saying this guy's not good enough, but it's also like we're not trusting even our preparation of this kid for this moment.
Right.
Pretty powerful. Well, that's pretty awesome. Oh man, that's good. That's really good, dude. So like, what big lessons did you get a chance to learn through this second time around? I know it's still pretty early, but does anything kind of stick out to you?
Just the little things about the game. It's amazing how big they play when the stage is bigger. I had the conversation not long ago. I would rather watch college baseball than I would Major League Baseball, because it relates so much more to what we do.
Yeah.
On our stage and how we have to manage a game, and our team 1 through 9, we have to be able to bunt. You have to, and we spend a lot of time doing that, and in different scenarios, and we create scenarios, and they have to be able to do it. And so those type of things that play in the college game, that play in the high school game as well. It's amazing, looking back, seeing those little swing points that started by being able to do the little things correctly. And I think, I was most proud of them for accepting, and sometimes a young kid, they don't like to give themselves up, or they don't like to do things that aren't the sexy part of baseball. And they really bought into who they were, and did those things that they needed to do to be successful. So that was huge. We hit 3 home runs on the year as a team. Yeah. Hit 1 in the regular season, 2 in the playoffs. 3 home runs as a team, but
it's just not a big part of the high school game anymore. It really isn't.
right. And I tell them all the time, you can go ahead and the percentages of games that are won on a sacrifice bunt or on a well-timed steal in high school are way, way more than a 2-run shot or a 3-run shot. I mean, those percentages engulf home runs. So even PFPs, being able to field a bunt, being able to hit a cutoff man, those things are huge in high school baseball. So much more so than a 2-run home run or 3-run home run. And I think I was really proud of the fact that these guys I coached this year really bought into that aspect of the game, and it showed that it paid off.
Yeah. So like you talked about that, like you said, your identity. So like, is that something that you kind of pushed? Is that something that kind of came up with when you talk about their identity? Was that based off of like their skill set and say, hey, like we're not going to hit the ball at the ballpark. We got to do this. Or is it about like, your core values? Like, was it about like the skill set, like identity, or was it something you bought into like being like blue collar or relentless or something like that?
Right. I have a few guys that can do it. But I think you have to, if those things play for you, probably 2, 3, 4, 5 in your lineup can do
it.
Yeah. And we just didn't have that. So, asking a kid, I would never ask a kid to go swing. It just being able to see and know what team it is. And I think you have to know your individual players in your team, but knowing the team 1 through 9 and really, I need to see how this game plays out in my head 1 through 9 and what percentages we're dealing with as far as, where, and I actually moved probably my power hitter. I moved him to the leadoff role this year just because 1, his on base percentage is out of the roof.
Mm-hmm.
2, he's probably our best base runner. And 3, he's not scared to take one in the back. Okay. So him being on base and being on run bases is way more beneficial for us than him hitting a home run.
Mm-hmm.
So those type of things, knowing your players and the identity of your players helped us. And when I moved him, I don't know what the exact number is, but I think when I moved him to the leadoff position, we might have went like 21-3 the rest of the year. So, I mean, knowing how your team fits together is huge. You have to put those pieces of the puzzle together.
So like, all right, let's finish my notes, man. Because I love that, just being able to know knowing your players, and not even so much for, like we said, from like a vulnerability standpoint, just us trying to get better, but also for us to try to mold the lineup and
right.
Like you said, that helps build practice plans and why you're spending so much time on your small ball when maybe in other years you didn't have to do that,
Yeah.
So like what like. I'm just getting into like, I'm thinking like classroom sessions, like are you guys big into the classroom? Like, are you getting into that thing when you did talk about identity or when you did talk about maybe like what you're going to do now? Is it something maybe you foresee like, hey, we have to spend more time here? Because staying on the mountain, like you said, is staying on top is a lot different than getting to the top.
Yeah, we do a lot of video breakdown.
Okay.
And we do that as a group and also individual. I break down. I film a lot of cage sessions that they have and a lot of our early season BP. And we do a lot of character talk and things about, how do you be a better person? I think that's huge. I want them when they leave the program, like a lot of coaches, I want them to, first of all, know that I love them. Second of all, know that I love them for more than a baseball player. And then I want them to be better people, husbands, fathers, and have some character and identity more so growing into young men that are going to allow them to be successful, productive citizens, first of all. So
awesome
for us. And we talk about that a lot. I have a card that I made last year. It's a character card. And basically it says, these are things that people in this program are going to possess as people, first of all. And on that card, and I challenged them, I don't want to have to take that. That's your character card. That's your card as a man, a young man in this program. If I have to take that card or I have to talk to you about that card, that means we got bigger issues than this baseball team. So I challenged them a lot with that, especially early on. And then, it's a full grind when the season starts. So that goes into.
You literally give them a card that has these values on them. And then you say, I want your card because you didn't do X, Y, and Z, and we have a conversation about it.
Oh, yeah. I'll take it and be like, here's what I'm seeing. Here's what you're not fulfilling.
Yeah.
This is a pact that we made together. It's something we got to talk about, something you got to fix. I'm not just giving you, if I do that, it's something that they know is a pretty big deal. And something that we need to get fixed. And until I see those changes, we're gonna have an issue. And
do you keep the card until they get that back, and then you give them back the card?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, this is great.
Yeah. So I keep it. I had it made special. It's got our logo on it, and I put it in a package, and it's got their name on it. And they keep it in there.
This reminds me. So the Trotsky base. So like with of course you have Trent and Nate. Is this right. Nate's kind of based off of? I think Nate has what? It's six. Is it six things? He has? Six tools.
Yeah, the things that Nate had. No, not really. I think Nate's is a lot of things he does are geared towards being a good person, but then things on the field that you need to do, mindful things on the field, about clearing your mind and let's get back into action and those little things that he's absolutely genius about. And he has what I really like. One of the things that we did as a surface field element card, and we got those for our kids. So when we go play on a different field, because we play on turf, and I love the fact, Nate was at our place and he was talking about this surface field element card. And, kids don't think about that. So we play on turf. It's totally different than when we go to a natural field. Mm-hmm. So we really, really concentrated on, what's the surface like, first of all. So outfielders, you go figure it out. What does the fence play like? What does the grass play like? Are we snaking? Are there holes? Is it deep? Is it thick? What's the surface? I need to know what the dimensions are. Do we have a lot of foul territory? Where the light's located? What's our communication patterns? Are there lips on the infield? How deep all those things that go in. How deep's the backstop? Where's the dirt play like? And then the elements. Is it slick? Is it raining? Is it cold? Is it windy? All those things are huge communication aspects for those kids, man. And I really, really like that. And I adopted that and took that from him and put it in the program. But this is more of a card that I really am concerned about, young men being young men of character. So it just kind of came up with, I really more so probably got it from sheets where, you have your student person or your person, student, player.
Yep.
Player is the last thing on that. So we have to hit all these going in the right direction before we even worry about what kind of player you are. Because it's been said time and time again, it only takes one to ruin the chemistry of a team.
Right.
It only takes one. So those aspects have to be in play. And I'm, I've made hard decisions as a coach. Talented players, I've made hard decisions because I just felt like the unity of those players and character were going to be better off by making some of those hard decisions early.
Mm-hmm. Addition by subtraction.
Absolutely.
Yep. Awesome. So, like, you talked about, like, you said we made this pact, like going back to the character card. We made this pact, and you're kind of not fulfilling your needs. It sounded like, so you do like evaluations. Is that something you do like at the end of fall? Do you have like phases, like Chuck does different phases? So is that something you just talk about? Is it all the time? I know as much as you're trying to get to know your kids. So just kind of maybe elaborate on that a little bit. You said when you made this pact.
Yeah, it's pretty much nonstop. I feel the heartbeat of the kids, and I try to keep a finger on the pulse of the program. And walking through the locker room, I look at things and people's emotions and that they might not know that I'm really in tune with. And I would say 2 to 3. We always meet before practice. We have a team meeting, and I'll lay out the practice plan and lay out the goals for the day and what I want to see, and try to leave no stone unturned in that aspect. And then a lot of times I'll have just a quick, character talk or a quick, this is what I see. I'm not scared to be emotional in front of my kids. And probably one of the greatest stories I have on the team this year is from a senior that hasn't played a lot, that really took a younger kid in under his wing and probably saved that kid. And that kid's going to turn out to be a really good baseball player because another kid in our program, his character was bigger than baseball. I told that kid, I don't care what happens, what you did for that kid means more to me than anything that will ever happen on this field this year.
Mm-hmm.
A kid grew up in our program and was so unselfish that he went out and saved another kid in our program from going down the wrong road. That is what I'm talking about. That's a champion right there. That's a championship effort and play.
Absolutely. And playing when it matters the most.
Man, yeah.
Right?
Right.
Talk about when you've already mentioned that, man. You've mentioned that about playing when it matters most. That's when it matters most. When somebody
100%.
really needs you and that guy steps up in the time when it really mattered the most. Awesome. So like this character card, is that something that as a program you kind of came up with? Like these are the values, or is it something like you talk as a staff, or is it something that just kind of came?
Yeah, I just started putting it together, and I reached out to my staff. I have an unbelievable staff that works their tails off and is loyal as they come. And I reached out and said, what are some characteristics you think our program should be built on, and what are things that are the strongest to you looking back that you think these kids need. And we kind of just came up with it as a staff, and I made it. I guess whatever program it is on the computer, I sent our logo in, typed it in, and they sent it to us. It's awesome. I mean, what's huge for me. My kids don't know it, but I gave it to them and didn't say anything else about it, but keep it in your locker. And then when I look around the locker room, and the majority of kids have got them is posted and hanging up outside of their locker so they can see it all the time. That is a big deal to me, and they wouldn't know that. I wouldn't say it to them, but just seeing them really accept it and take, kind of the challenge was big.
Yeah, take ownership of it.
Yeah,
for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they took ownership of it, man. They bought into it, man. That's big time. Now, did you see? Is that something this year that something that this year that you did was a little different, or is that something you've had for years?
Yeah, that was something I did a little different this year.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a little different, and I added that. And you know, I had some stickers made with our emblem on it, and it says compete, because in the end, that's what I want you to do. I just want you to compete. And they put that on their bats or on their helmet or under their hat, just as a reminder. No, all I want you to do is compete. I just want you to compete your tail off. I'm not asking you to be perfect. I just want you to compete. So little things like that. I'm a visual person.
Yeah.
I need these things, and I'm visual. So I did that as much for me as I did for them.
Sure. Just keeps reminding it, and it keeps in the forefront, keeps it up in the front of our
Right,
brains.
100%.
You know, but I would say, like, how, you know, what is your process now looking at, like, moving forward with the next year? Something that you continue with? Do you try to do a little differently? You know, what are your thoughts there?
Well, I mean, that's probably something that I'll continue with as far as challenging them. You know, I might change the delivery up a little bit, or the look of it a little bit. And you know, I'm huge on the social media stuff. I like coming up with stuff and you know, making it look presentable. So I'll probably change it up a little bit, but it'll be the same message. You know, and that's another thing where you got to kind of feel the heartbeat of your team. You got to have a pulse on it to see, you know, what works and what might be generic to today's teenager. You know, they think a little differently than we do. So
Sure.
You kind of have to figure out, you know, what works. And I think it's very important. You can't be scared to fail, man. You can't be scared to fail as a coach. If you have an idea that you like, don't be scared to put it out to your team, because if you don't, you don't know what works and what doesn't work. I mean, you have to, and that goes back to the vulnerability that we talked about. You know, I think a lot of coaches are scared their kids won't think they're cool.
Yeah.
No, I don't care if you don't think I'm cool. I really don't. And I mean, I got plenty of young assistant coaches that are a lot cooler than I am, that get kids and they can handle that role. But I just want them to, you know, buy into the concept of, one, I'm gonna work my tail off as hard as I can, and two, I'm gonna do it the right way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Awesome, dude. Oh man. Oh, it's been a great year, huh? Been a great year.
We got to play baseball. I know that.
Yeah, you got to play baseball this year.
Yeah.
And it's been great for me to be able to get a chance to meet you this year, man. Like, it's been phenomenal, man, just to see and then see all the success that you have. I mean, it wasn't surprised, but man, it's just great to see, buddy.
Yeah, that session we started out with really fired me up about, you know, getting back in it, meeting guys that are passionate about the game. And man, I can't tell you how many people I've reached out to. I'm like, what are we doing? Let's do it again. Let's go, man. I need you to fire me up, refuel me. Let's go. Let's figure it out. So yeah. That was an awesome way to start it off, for sure.
It was. It really was, man. And it just, it is. And it's so great to see everybody just, you know, see these guys just success after success, and guys that are doing, you know, going deep into it. It's just great to see, man. But man, buddy, like, we're already here like an hour into it, buddy. Like, we're rolling. Yeah. So, I mean, you talk about social media, man. What's the best way for guys to get in touch with you, buddy? Like, what would you say, like, best way to?
You can reach me on Twitter. I'm not really sure what it is. Coach Flo.
Is it Coach Flo?
I think it's Coach Flo. You can obviously email me. And my school account is probably the best. North Hall High School. We have a Twitter page, a Facebook page that
it's at Trevor Flo.
At Trevor Flo.
Yeah.
At Trevor Flo. You know, and most of my posts that I ever make on Twitter are really, that's kind of a dialogue to myself, kind of reminders to myself as a coach on things that I find important and want to, you know, it's kind of a notebook for me that might help other coaches. And And another thing I've learned, I think is huge, is the coaching community, as competitive as we are. Early on, I was like, it's me against you. It's coach against coach, and I gotta beat you. And really, it has nothing to do with that. You are competing against the game. You're coaching against the game, and very rarely are there any coach against coach instances. And I think that's a huge lesson for young kids to learn. I thoroughly enjoy just talking and learning from amazing coaches. And now I'm at a point where, even the ones I coach against, the things that they do, even if I get out coached, I'm like, I gotta write that down. I want to know, how they did that or what their mindset is. And they're a coach just like you're a coach, and it's not me against you. It's me against that baseball that's being thrown, and you got to catch it, and you got to hit it, and you got to throw it, and you got to figure out how to do that more consistently and better than the other team. And sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't.
Absolutely, man. It's funny just how it does work out like that. I think I guess being young, like, you got to make a name for yourself, and you're trying to do what's right, and you just feel like it's you versus the world.
Right.
Like, you wonder, could it be any different? Like, you think as a young coach, could you just come out right away and thinking it's about you in the game?
It would take a really mature person, and that goes back to the experience, I think. And so many people want to be head coaches, and they want to have their name. And I think, our record at North Hall, since I've been at North Hall, is like 214-80. But I honestly would have zero problem being an assistant coach to a great coach. Because you get to compete at the game. I think so many young people want to jump into being a head coach, and you've never sat behind somebody and watched how they coach the game and learn from them and just soak it up and see all these different aspects. And if you could, do it more than once with more than one coach. Be under a great coach in the high school season, and then go find a great coach in the summer season and ask questions and soak it up. Reach out to people that have been successful. I want to know. I want to know what Chuck Box does. I want to know how he's so detailed. And tell me that. Tell me, show me, teach me, and let me figure that out. And I want to know the little things that these great coaches that we sat in that room with. That I want to know how Adam Mosley manages superstar after superstar on a team, and how they get better, because when you got a superstar on your team, you got to figure out how to make that kid better and make him part of the team too. So how do you manage a superstar like you would manage a normal kid that's not going to college, and how do you can gel them into a team? I want to know those kind of things.
Right.
Those things are huge to find out from coaches. And I think so many young coaches are so gung-ho about put my name on that head coach and let me roll. When man, you don't. Coaching baseball is the easy part of that. Yeah, that's the easy part. You ain't even talked about off the field or those other aspects about you're very rarely going to be liked, and you'll be on the island a lot of the time, and you're always going to be questioned. You could do everything right, and somebody is going to find something that they didn't think you did right. And how do you deal with that? How do you grow from that? So,
Just thinking this year, like, mask protocols and COVID stuff, dealing with dealing with all of that stuff, let alone what you're trying to coach baseball.
And then, I'll tell you something crazy. We're about to play in the Sweet 16 game against the number 2 ranked team in the state, who everybody's basically said, this is for the state championship. But we're taking BP, and they come get my starting third baseman out of the dugout, say you were contact tracing, you can't play this series.
Oh my.
Talk about that. And then I go to a freshman who has never played an inning of varsity baseball in his life. But I know he's prepared. Once again, I've watched him worked his tail off just like, in varsity. And I just said, all right, man, next guy up. You can't be too big. Let's go to work. And he absolutely played his tail off.
That's awesome story, man.
And the smile on his face and that confidence builder, and just the fact that he looked and said, the coaches believe in me, that'll pay huge dividends for him down the line. It really will.
Oh my gosh. What a story. Man, talk about a true test of a team. And of course, it's got to be right before the game started too.
It was during BP.
You
talk about having to handle your emotions as a coach now. That battle tested me in a hurry, I promise.
Oh my Lord. During BP. Oh, son, I'm sorry. You're not going to play. Oh my.
Yeah.
And like you said, see, it is stuff like that, man, just makes it so special. Stuff like that you'll just hold on to.
Right.
Oh, that's phenomenal. That kid on this stuff will never. Did that kid end up coming back for the state championship?
Yeah, he was able to come back the next series.
All right, good.
Good.
That's good. His season wasn't finished there.
Able to finish. He actually, right. He played huge for us down the stretch. Huge. Automatic defensive third baseman, and we're playing against a team that lays down bunts and likes to run, and our third baseman is making those calls, and all of a sudden he's just taking off the field. I was like, you gotta be kidding me.
Oh man. And you said you gotta keep him under control to keep yourself ready to manage this game.
Right.
My Lord. What timing, those people. Oh my goodness. Wow. Dude, man, I can't thank you enough, man. This has been phenomenal. I really loved it. It really helped me get better. Love the character card stuff, man. That was phenomenal. The stories, I knew you would have great stories this year, just from this year. And like I said, I knew there was I was interested, wanted to learn just about the differences between, what you saw between the regular season and the postseason this year.
Right.
That was solid. One thing, well, infield wise, I know infield wise we talk about shifting a lot too. Like, do you guys get into that much that this year?
Oh, we don't. We didn't shift very much. If we did shift, it's more towards tendencies deep in the postseason. But we played some teams that shifted, but I think that there wasn't enough. I'm not against it. I really am not. I'm not against it. I just think that all of our odds this year didn't really ever favor into a shift. More of the shifting that we would do would be outfield wise. Tendencies there, pinching gaps, little things like that, taking the center fielder to a certain spot. We did way more of that than we did infield wise.
Okay. I don't know. It was always a hot topic. We discussed all that stuff, and but yeah, I'm sure that, man, you probably took a lot with you guys got doing small ball. Coach Webb, Dave Webby, he's all about that. A lot of
I've talked with him all the way through. I just grasp on the things that he was saying. In those little sessions we had at the hotel, and talking to him, and one of the best lines that I always text him is, you got to go out and play chess, not checkers.
Yes, right.
How do we go out? How do we play chess today? Everybody else playing checkers. How do we go out and play chess and do it a little bit better? So, little things like that are huge.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, fun stuff, man. Like, that's why thinking about first and thirds, defensive, how we play in chess here, checkers. That is definitely. Come back to your practice plan, like, we playing chess here, we playing checkers.
I sent him some ideas early in the year. I was like, this has to work. And he was like, dude, I freaking love it. Yeah. Him, I reached out to all those guys. Jeff Sherman, I reached out. We're facing Velo, 93 plus, and I want to know, he's very successful at what he does hitting wise. I want to know, what's my best method going in to prepare my kids for facing this. I want to get ideas. So the coaching community is unbelievable. It really is. There are some absolutely just dudes out there. I mean, sure. All those guys we mentioned, those guys are just dudes. I don't want my name mentioned with those guys. I want to just be in a room, give me a pad, go up there, and let's just start talking and let me write.
Yep, be the dumbest guy in the room.
100%.
Down with that, man. You just me and you'll be sitting there in the corner.
Yes.
Notes.
I mean, I'm fine with it.
Me too, buddy. Me too. I just happen to that's why I said I'll just get the microphone. We'll just record these things because I'm just like, just let me know how you do this, man. Like, this will be great. And let's talk about it. Brett, this has been awesome, man. But yeah, keep learning, buddy. Keep it up, man. It's great. I'm really thankful to have this time to talk to you again, man. We haven't touched base in a while, and it was really cool. Awesome to see you. Congratulations again, man. It's awesome.
Thanks for having me on, brother. I appreciate you letting me come on and talk some baseball. It was awesome.
Coach Flo from North Hall High School in Georgia. Just repping it. Loving it. Just love the conversation. One of the free-flowing conversations, literally hit record, rocked and rolled, and we just ran. And was just a banger. Love this talk about knowing his kids first and foremost. Being able to know those kids, knowing how each person you need to talk to differently. His extended column, knowing here's what's going to hurt us in the playoffs. Thought that was a great tidbit of information. Expectation of 200 ground balls for your infielders. Put in the work. He's, like you said, he got to this point where he has infielders that are now ready because they've put in the time, they put in the work. Just take the time. It takes what it takes. I love how you talk about your expectation as a coach turns into your players' actions. Phenomenal. All right, we see how the ego has it too, because he talked about how then coaches aren't confident in their players' preparation. When it really comes down to you're not confident in the way that you have prepared this player for these moments. And so that you can see, like, he has the stories about players that had come in these big situations. He's like, and he was confident to make those changes because his preparation, how he prepared these players, and he was confident in it. It was great stuff. He talked about there's no one size fits all. Big difference between knowing the game as a player and what you would do as a player versus knowing the game as a coach and what we would do as a coach. Very different things. Totally agree with him there. What we do as players and what we see, what we've done is a lot different than when we put in the time we've had our experience and we can see, the right move to make that's going to help us out further down the road. Very great information. But just I love his character cards and how he actually gives those cards to his players, and he'll take that card when they need to talk about them and have a conversation about their character and understand that that's the most important thing that he values. That's just phenomenal. I just love his leadership, love his message, and it's awesome to see a great guy like Coach Flo at North Hall and getting to lead young men. It's awesome. So. Again, if you're not following him on Twitter, please start at Trevor Flo. And feel free to reach out to him at North Hall High School in Georgia for an email, anything you want to touch base with him about. Again, he's always willing to learn. He's a constant learner himself. So I'm sure we're trying to get just as much from you if you ask him and what you're trying to get from him. So he's He's the man. So again, Coach Flo, can't thank you enough. Thank you guys for hanging out with us here and enjoying our 64th episode. I'll keep rocking it because I just love these conversations and get a chance to talk to some really great guys, and it helps me get better. And it also helps me understanding, trying to keep pushing the game forward, and loving the guys that are keep sharing the podcast and trying to keep growing the game, and know we can help our young men. We're in some tough times, man. So like we could all use a little bit. And until next week, keep getting better.